Matt Lucas.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
What's shaking, man?
Good job today. Yeah, it's good.
Thanks.
Yeah, all's
Hey,
good.
Mac.
Hey, Chris. Great sessions.
Thanks.
I didn't know that I would make it through all of them, but I couldn't walk away from
It
the
went by
computer.
fast.
Good
3 hours
job.
goes by fast. Yeah. That format works well. 3 or 6 half-hour sessions back to back to back. So.
I think it was the right mix of content. It was the right time and mix of content, I think.
Yeah, I tried to make it timely. Hey, Martin.
I would say that 30-minute sessions that was the right length, and you stuck to time. You didn't let them run over. So I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah,
I think it was a big part of
Stephen came close. No.
it.
He pushed the limits there.
If 100 words are good, 1,000 must be better. Martin, is it 10 p.m. where you are?
Yes, it is. So it would usually be 11 p.m. But you are now 1 hour closer to our time zone, at least for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There's always 2 times a year where there's
Yeah.
just 5-hour time difference to the East
Well,
Coast.
Next year, they're proposing to get rid of daylight savings time over here. So
Maybe.
maybe, yeah. Pass the Senate.
That's fine. We
Wow.
have customers in California. So then it's like 8 to 9 hours time difference for us. So that's fine. We also have a customer in New Caledonia. It's like at one part of the year, it's like 12 hours time difference. It's like close to New Zealand, but
Oh, okay. That's
Like-
where is that?
the internet makes everything possible.
And if you have customers in Alabama, it's 1860.
Yeah.
Steven.
Hello, Sarah there.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Steven. Hi, everybody.
I'm in Georgia. I'm next door, so I'm close to Alabama, but I'm not in Alabama. But it's so I went to school in Mississippi, so just as long as you don't disparage Mississippi, I'm okay with it.
I did Katrina relief work in Pass Christian.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They got hit almost harder than, or didn't they get more hit than New Orleans?
I think so.
Yeah, they just got demolished. I had a family friend I grew up with that was doing he was a TV guy, and he was doing live remotes. He's staying in New Orleans during Katrina, was doing live remotes out. And so everybody, all the TV channels were picking him up. And this is a guy I went to high school with, and Brian Andrews, and he was walking through the flooded streets of New Orleans. And then NBC were like, let's cut to Brian here. He's walking through the flooded streets of New Orleans. Oh gosh. Yeah.
They got
crazy.
hit bad last night.
I don't know
Yeah.
what happened last night. I don't even.
Tornado.
Yeah,
In New Orleans?
Yeah, in the lower Ninth Ward and St. Bernard's Parish, like the areas that were the hardest hit by Katrina.
Crazy.
And typical tornado, one side of the street, nothing, no damage whatsoever. The other side of the
Wow.
street, nothing, as in nothing left.
Wow.
Sarah, where were you for Katrina relief? Because I was down there also.
I was in Pass Christian. So
Is that Louisiana?
no, it was Mississippi. It's
Okay,
coastal.
whereabouts in the state is that?
On the coast. I was a senior
Okay,
in
on the
college.
coast.
Don't ask me to remember much.
It's on the
about it.
coast. It's just right on
Yeah.
the coast. So there's that tiny little boot in Mississippi, and
Yeah.
Pass Christian's right on that boot of Mississippi, right on the coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing logistics work for a nonprofit that I was on the board of. And my job was to find a place where we could have hundreds of volunteers come down in a couple of weeks. There'd be security, there'd be power, there'd be food, there'd be water, and there'd be work to do.
Mhm.
And it was like almost no place in the state lined up. But I ended up finding a firefighters camp in Hattiesburg, where they had set up like air-conditioned tents, massive tents, like 200 people sleeping in these tents.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, we had 250 volunteers down there, and basically the firefighters provided like all the housing, food, water, all of that, and our people went out with chainsaws.
Yep. Pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Well, welcome everybody. Good to see faces here. And I hope you enjoyed the little conference today. What was, I'm curious from just the audience perspective, who I haven't talked to yet, like, what was the one thing you enjoyed today just learning about? Maybe Kasha, what would you say?
Honestly, I think it was, I'll have to say two-tied. The first one was how you looked at the other job boards. It was so helpful to see, looking at it from a different perspective.
Yep.
And I was embarrassed to give my website because I'm still working on it. So I didn't want you to like tell me things that I already knew. So I kind of
Okay.
kept it to the side. But also the Google Analytics, it's so overwhelming. It's so difficult to figure out. Even signing up for an account was terrible. So to hear you say that as well made me feel a little bit more normal. And
Yeah,
I appreciated the
easier to
recommendation.
sign up with. I mean, it's a nightmare now. It's like
Yeah.
so much stuff in there. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel, but it's just way too complicated these days.
Is anybody
Yeah.
trying any of the new analytics? There's Plausible, or Chris, have you tried any? Plausible.io. Is it Simple Analytics .com? They may have the .com. Some alternatives to
No.
Google. I've been using
What was that
Clicky.
one you had? Clicky?
Clicky has been around for a while. It's a good, it's very similar to StatCounter, just no nonsense, gives you the
Yeah.
raw data that you want to see without any kind of
Mhm.
fluff. But Plausible has been interesting. I've been testing it from time to time, plausible.io. And their user interfaces are, honestly, they're beautiful. Plausible is run, I believe, by two guys, and they have design backgrounds. And so you can actually see a live instance of their analytics if you log into, or if you visit Plausible, and they have a purple button just to view a sample. And it's super clean. They'll give you just almost columnized breakdowns of where your traffic is coming from based on either refers or country or device size. Other ones to consider, but they are paid, so they do not have free options. They are full paid to play. Clicky has, I think, one free option up to a certain amount of like a data limit that you can store in their databases. But
Yeah, it's a
Plausible,
StatCounter. It's like you get a certain log size.
yeah, and they have banners
up.
too. And then you can, if you pay, you get rid. At least the last time I used StatCounter, I think they turn off the ads if you become a paying member, which is nice.
Peter, out of interest, are you using those services in parallel to Google Analytics, or are you completely substituting Google Analytics, and why?
I've removed Google Analytics from all my sites. But just like Chris, I'll use two, just because I want to see what I've found over the years of building sites is every analytics service will count traffic differently. And from an acquisition standpoint, I'd rather if somebody comes after one of my sites, or if I'm interested in selling, I at least have two data points to represent. And I didn't feel a need. Google Analytics had gotten to the point where it was such a fire hose worth of information that I didn't need. And Clicky was giving me exactly what I needed. But I use Clicky, a little bit of StatCounter from time to time. I'm trying to implement a little bit of Plausible that I've enjoyed, or Simple Analytics. I've been testing both of those to see which one I tend to prefer, and making sure that they're presenting the same levels of information that I'm used to seeing, direct traffic or time on site, some of the basics. But yeah, all of my sites I've removed Google Analytics entirely, just because it's become so bloated in some ways. I prefer just this. I'm
You have to be like an
So-
expert now, like a technical expert to.
Yeah, like
Set
I
it
don't
up,
have
it's
it.
like-
I don't have any interest in I have no interest in relearning, because I spent my first part of my career being an analyst in paid search, SEO, analytics, and I was deep into that world. And now that I build some of my sites for myself, I have no interest. I want the high level data. Just show me how many people visited, how many
Yeah.
people bought, how long were they on the site, is the site sticky? Okay, I'm doing my job. I parachute out and I go back to serving my customers or talking to them on the phone. I don't need to do 15 different segments of a customer and determine if a blue button is converting better than a green button.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, it's just I'm a simple builder. Yes, maybe I could increase my sales by 0.5% if I change the button to green. I don't care. My customers, just as long as I get one customer and I treat them okay, they're going to come back and they'll post more jobs, and then I can treat my job seekers well and make it simple for them to reach out to ranchers, either a phone number or an email. It's what I found they don't prefer application links. I like phone numbers and slowly texting. They're getting over to texting now. They just want to text, phone, email, and that's it. And I step out of the way and let them kind of correspond.
Interesting. I think there's something to watch out now. Google recently announced that they're sunsetting the Universal Analytics, and now there is Google Analytics 4. I don't know if anyone has looked into that so far, and they also offer server-side tracking, and especially coming from Europe where data privacy is a big concern. This is a quite interesting topic. So I think this is something I'm happy to share a recent blog post that they posted in the comments. So maybe this is interesting for some of you. Yeah. But I absolutely get your point, Peter. I like almost 20 years ago, I used kind of a tracking pixel on one of my websites, I remember. And it was also a super easily digestible analytics tool. And it was just mind-blowing how different it was to what you use now in Google Analytics, but it got me the numbers. So I absolutely got your point.
Yeah.
Martin, what's new at Jobico these days? And by the way, thank you for being a sponsor for today.
Absolutely. The t-shirt suits you well.
Yeah, what's new?
Yeah, I mean, so we're investing a lot into a new platform. So last year we launched a new job board platform. It's basically it's called a decoupled platform. So basically the front end and the back end are more like loosely coupled. So that gives our clients a little bit more flexibility, but it also enables us to optimize each part of the platform a little bit more. But in doing that, I mean, the value proposition that we are following is still the same. So we want to power some of the best job boards in the market. Last year, for example, we migrated Monster in Finland. So Monster.fi was moving from their Monster global platform to the Jobico platform. So that's just to show how powerful it can be. But we also power smaller sites like local jobs in the US, larger sites.
Put a link in the chat there if you could, a couple of your sites, if you would.
Yeah, I will share a couple of the sites in the comments in a minute. And one of the things that we're also looking at is a search and match engine. So some of our customers are just using the search and match technology. That means that if you run your own job board, it's very similar to what TextKernel or Ectonomy offers. We also offer a search and match technology, because despite like how you convert, like how you create the user experience, I think the search is a very important part of the experience. And if the search creates good relevancy and a good experience for your users, you also create more conversions. So this is something that we are also looking at. So we are basically building a broad set of pieces of technology to empower job boards. And I'm always excited to listen to all of the experts here, because there's so many job board owners that have so much experience. Like when I listen to Steven, it's always amazing. I don't know like how long you are in the market, but that you're still at the cutting edge and at the outer edge of what is happening, like following the trends and incorporating the trends and then presenting it to the rest of us, like we're learning, right? So, and this is absolutely impressive, and this is inspiring, by the way. So absolutely like to be here.
Awesome.
I don't know if there's anyone else based in Europe here, and I don't know, Steve, have you been to Europe in November on a conference? Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Belgium last November during the American Thanksgiving week, there was House of HR was going to have a e-recruitment conference there. And then there was a virus that you guys might have heard about that decided to have its way. So yeah, but I think the last conference that I was at in Europe was maybe 2018, 2019.
I appreciate that. So last week, we are headquartered in Austria. Last week, and I was chatting to one of my clients via text messaging last week in the US. And last week we had higher new infection rates in Austria than in the whole US. So there's there's some things going wrong here, but at least now we are on the mend. So it's getting better. But this recent wave, it just hit us hard. So it was amazing. I look at the stats, I couldn't believe it. So like the US, same numbers than Austria. It's quite a different size though.
Yeah, you don't rely on the US numbers because there's almost no testing, and a number of the states now are not reporting the data to the CDC. So the CDC numbers that you see for cases and hospitalizations and deaths do not include any data from, I think it's 4 different states now. So we don't know what our numbers are.
Plus all the self-testing, no one reports that. If you test positive when you self-test, so it's,
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I was to feel sick and do a rapid test at home and be positive, I wouldn't report it. I mean, so I think there's a lot of that. I've got a lot of family in Canada, and they were doing rapid testing before the US was, and they were all like, we could report it. I mean, they just kind of thought, well, we just have to stay home. So I think, yeah, I think the numbers are really underreported. I think all that really matters to me now is hospitalization and deaths. If I have a really bad cold, I'm not going to go and tell the state health authorities. They don't care. And, but anyway, whatever. Is there a job board for people who've had COVID?
No, but there's those, I saw a couple of those like anti-mask job boards pop up.
Yeah.
Did you guys see those?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Wasn't it like an Australian company?
Every crisis is always like a crisis job board that pops up. It's funny.
Is this still live, Chris?
I don't know what it's called, but it's some like, radical conservative guy created one, for.
Yeah. Martin, I made a note to have our tech team reach out to you about the search and match. We're using Google Cloud, and
yeah.
And it's been great. The matching is really great. The results, that sort of it all works really well, except that we're not able to upload all of our jobs as often as we'd want to, because they're kind of metering, and they don't have the ability. You can't pay to upload more jobs. It's just kind of like, well, once you get to, I think it's like 1 million jobs a day, then too bad. You'd think that they would find a way to take your money. But anyway, I'll have our tech team reach out, but
there is no limits. Happy to connect with my tech team.
Sure. I think it's a bandwidth issue is kind of what's happening on their end. Oh, Serge, seriously, there is an anti-vax job board?
Red
Yeah,
balloon
really.
at work.
Yeah.
Man.
Red balloon.
Crazy.
Oh, anti-vax job. Okay.
Well, I don't know what you call it, if it's anti-vax, but it's definitely geared towards that way.
Now, is that
That's
the
amazing.
same group of people that sung like 99 Luftballons, like 30 years ago? Or is that a different red balloon?
That's their theme song.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting reading their website. No agendas, politics, or drama, just work. Interested. Let's create that world together. So I wonder how well they're doing. I'm looking at the jobs, and where they have the most jobs is in Texas, which is not surprising.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Hey, Mark, you guys
get it.
integrating any kind of texting into your platform at all?
Not yet. We are looking into that, especially in the US. Customers ask us about this every now and then. So I was talking about text messaging integration already like 4 or 5 years ago with a couple of people on like TA Tech conferences. I remember in Denver. So what I've seen is it works very well in blue collar. So like finding a way of sending job alerts. So the open rates and the response rates are quite high because you always open a text message. But I'm not sure. We have not yet integrated with any of our customers. So did any one of you made experience with text messaging? Like, are you using it?
I know one niche
Hello?
job board client, I forget the name now too. They built like text alerts into their sidebar and things.
Yeah,
like that.
text alerts.
But
We do.
Who's that?
Oh, sorry.
oh.
Factory Fix, so niche job board.
Oh, factory. Yep.
We're blue collar, so like it works great. I think the
Mm.
biggest part that we built in was being able to share the job description via PDF within that text. So like actually
Oh.
they can apply to the job by just replying apply on the
Mhm.
That's
on the
interesting.
text. So if like, hey, do you want to apply to this job? Yes or no? Yes, automatically they're applied with their resume and all the information we already have.
I think that's
cool.
absolutely the way you need to do it, because you need to keep it simple and make it easy to apply. If you would need to text like an application letter, something like that on your phone, you would do it. So the easier you make it. So we recently rolled out like pre-filled application templates on one of our sites, and the application rate went up 15%. So the easier you make it for your user. But on the other hand, like I don't know, on the employer side, I could imagine you may also get a lot of low quality candidates. I'm not sure, Alex. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, it reminds me of like Stephen, you're on here, I think, but you guys talked about this where it's like, even though companies say they want to get and optimize their candidate flow for hires, all they really care about is getting the most amount of candidates. So we actually, a lot of our stuff, we treat that first application as more of like I'm interested in learning more about this job. And then we run them into a flow that they can all do through text, or we ask certain questions like, hey, how many years of experience do you have here? Do you have experience with PLCs? Do you have experience with CNC machines made by Haas? Like all these very, very niche things. And then once based on that, then we actually will present them to the company. So it kind of, we're that like floodgate that's kind of like just spewing through all this crap of applications that we're going to get and trying to figure out how we can filter those through. But it's easy in a manufacturing sense, because we can hyper focus on just keywords and brands and machines, everything related to manufacturing. The harder part is when you look at job boards that handle everything, you can't be that good, which is why I think niche job boards are the things that are taken Indeed down in the future.
That's so cool, Alex. Do you get the questions that you come back to the candidate with? Are those coming to you from that particular employer? So the employer says, I need to know these 6 things. And
yeah. And you see like JobSync and some other platforms are doing something similar, but they're attaching it to that application flow. But the issue is a lot of people are on their phones. They don't want to answer all those messages. So why would you cause them to do it now? Let's say they're sitting waiting for their prescription to get done at the grocery store. It's like, hey, like we'll reach out to you later with this flow when you can have a chance to actually do it, rather than like kind of pushing all that on them right away. It's like having to create accounts to apply to a job. Nobody does that anymore. They don't want to Workday. It's like, it's terrible. It's a terrible experience.
Alex, are you using any, I don't know, chatbot engine in the background? So there is a couple of AI machine learning tools coming up in the market. Which is like last year, PanelLogic acquired Wade and Wendy, and they're trying to integrate this into their custom candidate journey.
Yeah, we built it all out on our own. So we built it all through Twilio automations and internally, but that was mostly just because a lot of these didn't exist 3 years ago when we were, and our use case was just so unique.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of a rule-based.
Right?
Yeah, all manufacturing workers.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good sector. I've been writing about that for a couple of years now. Something that needs more, newer tech in there. So how's it going so far?
It's good. I think you still have the issue of companies that think that there's a silver bullet that's just going to solve all their problems. So you get those companies that just think that, oh, well, you don't give me as much candidate flow as Indeed does, but they're spending 40, 50 hours a week just sifting through crap resumes when we can help them not have to do that and actually focus on hiring the right candidates rather than being
Quality versus quantity.
those. Yeah, exactly. But again, people aren't into that. I think in general, I think in anything, people just want to be heard, and manufacturing is something that nobody's really solved that problem specifically for manufacturing. And our founder was, like the reason he came up with it was because he ran an automation company and hated hiring. So it's really that niche side of trying to figure out, okay, how can you present these candidates in a way that we're the subject matter experts as well, rather than just saying, hey, they matched the keyword of what Indeed said that they matched, when it's like, hey, that really isn't that important to us as a manufacturing company.
Yeah. Are you guys web-based only? Or do you have an app as well?
Web-based. I'm hit and miss with apps. I would love to hear if anyone has any experience with it. I think that the hard part is, like, I know a couple platforms tried. I forget which one it was that got bought by Monster, where it was like the Tinder for jobs. I think the hard part with apps is you have to download an app in order to use it. Like, I just think it's such a terrible experience personally.
Well, I asked that question because there's a company called Trade Hounds that has an app-based community of construction workers, and they've done really well with that app because their worker base, their job seekers are they use their phone basically. They don't have computers. I think they built up at least a couple 100,000 construction workers with the app itself. I did an interview with them a couple years ago, and one of the ways they got traction was they gave out stickers for all their new users, and the stickers put the sticker on their hard hats walking around the construction site, and they all saw that, and they all jumped on the app and stuff. I thought that was a great way to get traction with a
growth hacking at its finest.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Have you ever looked out into reaching out to trade schools or anything like that?
Yeah, so we started doing a lot of that. So we're doing a lot more partnering. A lot of it's going to be kind of starting with the associations, because when it comes down to it, the associations want their people to be happy. So if we can connect their associations with more people and funnel it through the associations want anything to do it, want everything to do with us. They want to be a part of it. So it's something we're working on. I think we didn't start our job board until less than a year ago. So it's still this candidate focused side is still new for us. So it's trying to figure out exactly what that is going to look like. But right now it's mostly SEO is pretty much all of our traffic.
Yeah, I would see a problem with the associations because most of them have their own job boards built in.
In manufacturing, a lot of them actually don't, or they're using like YM Careers and there's no functionality. So the way we would partner with them, like we make our money off the companies. So like for us partnering with them, it's more, hey, they get a light ATS for these really small mom and pop shops that don't need Workday or Paycom or iCIMS as their applicant tracking systems. And then we can actually be that light ATS for them and offer them free candidates. And then once they start growing and get bigger, or once they have a little bit more candidate flow, then we can kind of pump them with that more revenue stream. But we're still early on, so you may be 100% correct.
Well, the benefit with the universities, at least, is that you can find their emails relatively easily, as I'm sure Steve knows. Steven.
Yeah, we actually, you can, but we made a strategic decision last summer, and Martin sort of touched on this because of privacy issues. As we started to expand internationally, one of the things that we came up against as a niche site, like we don't have the resources of an Indeed or a Monster or even a Monster or a LinkedIn, is there are literally dozens of different privacy laws around the world. And some of them, you cannot comply with one if you're going to comply with the other. Like there are some regions in some countries that basically say, if you're going to do business here, you have to upload to us all of your candidate data. Where if you also want to do business in Europe, that isn't going to go over too well. And so we stopped taking candidate data. a few months ago. You cannot provide to us personally identifiable information. So I know we're an outlier with that, but it was kind of a choice of, do we take candidate data and stay in the US and maybe a few other countries, or do we not take candidate data and then be able to serve, run globally? So we chose the second path. But yeah, you can definitely buy student data and set a scale that way. I always question. I've been around long enough to remember the days where you could buy like 200 million AOL email addresses on a CD. And it's like, just
Maybe
because you
not
get a
even-
lot doesn't mean it's good.
Maybe not even student data, but like reach out to their career services department, because you can easily find those people's emails, and that's perfectly fine, I would assume, to reach out to them, especially in the US.
Oh, if you do that manually, like you go to their career service office site, yeah, you're going to see the career counselors, the career service office director. You could definitely email them and all that. And what they're probably going to do is tell you to post the job to Handshake.
Yes.
So what they're basically saying is, here's a hand. I'm going to lower 4 of my fingers, and you can figure out which 4 I'm going to lower.
Hey, Graham, I've actually tried to approach Miguel Lopez. I founded TradeJobsUSA.com. It's a skilled trade sector job board, niche job board. Definitely in the infancy stage. It's just myself and a marketing person. So not much sales happening right now. Just sort of getting involved in the job board scene. I've been doing HR for 15 years. Currently work full time for PepsiCo Frito-Lay. So I'm happy to join you and
Nice.
get as much knowledge as possible from you all.
Welcome to the job world.
Thank you. But yeah, so we reached out just an email blast to a couple of trade schools and trying to see if that gained some traction.
It's also good for link building too, reaching out to those career services office, getting link backs.
Now, I guess another question is for everybody here, how do you send out your emails and then they don't end up in the spam filter? Because it's kind of hard to get these emails and then actually get the email to the person. So we've tried direct marketing through brochures, but that's obviously very expensive. But then the problem we run into with emails is just we cannot get to their inbox sometimes.
Well, you can't, I mean, with email campaigns like that, which here's a few things I know about, which is number one, don't BCC everybody and send out one email. I've seen that too many times. Number two is if you're doing any kind of like, drip campaign with them, you got to start out slow and build up your email sends over time. Don't send out, 5,000 the first day. Do, 50, right? Do 100 the next day. And slowly build it up, because the mail servers are looking at the IP address that they're coming from, and if they see too many emails at once, then they shut you down right away. So that's one thing I've learned about email sending over the years. So
There are services out there that'll warm up your email addresses for you automatically. So there's one called Instantly that you can kind of set up a bunch of email addresses and it warms it up, sends back and forth emails, and warms it up over a month or two, and then gradually. So then you use those.
that's a good.
Yeah, we don't send ours all from one. We use an SMTP rotation. So they'll go out, each message will go from a different email address, and then it will rotate through all of them. But
Graham, are you
still
looking? Are you talking about emails to candidates where you would be sending like tens or hundreds of thousands of emails, or are you talking about emails to employers where you might be sending hundreds of emails?
mainly candidates.
Okay. Yeah, I would look at HubSpot. HubSpot has an incredible amount of content on this and that, and it you can see all the content and whatever for free. Using their service, of course, is going to cost you money, but they have. I mean, what Chris was saying about starting slowly and gradually ramping up is definitely key. The opt-in nature. If people start to mark your emails as spam, Gmail is going to learn that really quickly. when we don't email candidates anymore, but what we with employers, what we found is we need to warm them up, and we need to send the employer information that's useful to them and hardly even mentions us. Useful to them is not buying a job posting. Useful to them is like 3 tips to interview these people. And here's my SIG file. If you want to contact me, my SIG file is right there. And you send them a whole bunch of those. And then the next thing might be, how to network. And if you want more tips on networking, here's a link to a blog article on our site, and send them a whole bunch of things like that. And then after they've had like 10, 12, 15 of those, and they're still getting your emails, that's when, for us, that's when we'll say you should buy from us. But still, you're gonna always have emails go into spam. It just, Jeff Dickey Chasen sent me a couple of emails a couple of days ago, and his emails went into my spam.
Well, that's because you manually put him on do not email, right?
Well, it's the difference between spam and block. Yeah, I only want to get content that's intelligible. So yeah.
Stephen, when you say you're not sending emails to candidates, do you mean campaigns, or are you also not sending out job alerts?
Yes and yes. And again, we're an outlier. I don't think that our decision to stop accepting.
You don't send job alerts?
Right. We don't send job alerts because we don't accept personally identifiable information, and the email address is personally identifiable information. And again, I don't think it's a good strategy for the vast majority of job boards. But it was driven because we made a decision that we're going to go international, and we can't comply with a regional law in Brazil and also comply with GDPR. We just don't have the resources to manage the data and how we, what we do with that data in different regions and different countries. Like even in the US, Minnesota and Montana are probably a couple of months away from enacting privacy laws that go way further than what California has. And they're much more like what the Canadian laws are, where you have to have permission. It's an opt-in, it's not an opt-out. So there are going to be a whole bunch of companies in the US that are going to send emails to Minnesotans and people in Montana, and they're going to get nice letters from the state attorney generals. And it'll probably be starting in 2023. And so we just decided, you know what, we don't have the resources to deal with that. So we're just not going to.
Well, every one of your jobs,
it's an international issue. Most job boards aren't international.
Yeah.
so I guess, so job seekers have nothing to log into then on collegerecruiter.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we removed that functionality 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Haven't missed it, quite frankly.
So all the applies happen off your site?
Correct. We send 100% of the candidates to the ATS or whatever URL the customer provides to us. Yeah.
Interesting that you're not sending any job alerts. The Talent.com's business model is almost 100% based on that model of sending job alerts and getting the clips on the job email.
Yeah, and if we had the $120 million that they just raised in equity plus the $30 million in debt, then we would probably be taking a different approach too. Yeah. So it's about resources. I mean, I don't think what we're doing is right. I think it's right given the constraints we have. Yeah, I mean, if we had our way, we would absolutely be taking that data. We would absolutely be sending job alerts. We would be doing all of that. But how do we know what some region in South Africa is saying what we can do with personally identifiable information? It's just not feasible for a little site like ours. If we were indeed LinkedIn, we would have it.
Is it worth investing in all of these markets, or are there, like, I don't know, the big markets that drive most of the revenue, and it would still make sense to like go back to the email marketing at some point?
That was a lengthy discussion at our annual planning meeting, and the answer is we think it's worth it. We won't know for a couple years probably. It's a pretty strategic long-term decision. We very well might be wrong, but we really felt like we either could go international or we could take that information. We couldn't do both. And we really didn't want to do the international where it would just be in 2 or 3 or 4 countries and then try to have a handle on that. And a lot of that was driven by when we started to see what was happening just in the US, with each state probably having different privacy laws. There are 56 different states and territories in the US. And in a couple of years, there will probably be 56 different laws. And then there'll probably also be a national law. And that national law may or may not supersede state law. I mean, it's just a mess even within the US. And then when we start to look at the EU and the UK, and it was just kind of like, yeah, it was, we felt it was beyond our capabilities given our growth plans to do that. So, but if anybody knows of anybody who's looking to park, $150 million like talent.com got, then, I can give you my phone number.
But what is your target applicant? What are they?
Post-secondary students and recent grads, 0 to 3 years of experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
And Graham, I think that you're more like on the faculty side, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So the people you serve are the people that our candidates hate. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Steve, where are you going international? How are you doing that? What countries are you going to?
We're in dozens of countries already.
Oh.
About 15% of our business is now outside the US. And it's, the US is really growing, internationally is growing even more. So we have something like 150,000 jobs in the UK.
So you're basically advertising over there to get that traffic?
Well, traffic and jobs are 2 different things. So.
Well, you need both.
You need both, but it's a chicken and egg. You can't get the traffic without the jobs. So, but you can get the jobs without the traffic. When
Yes.
when it's programmatic, if you're taking backfill, if you're getting postings from job distributors and ad agencies and whatever, you can definitely get a whole lot of jobs without having a lot of traffic yet.
Yeah.
But our business model is somewhat similar to, say, a talent.com, where we're an aggregator, but we're a niche aggregator. So once we have those jobs, then we can buy the traffic to drive the candidates to those jobs and then to the ATS. So the first thing is we have to have the jobs. But so we've got, I think, something like 40 or 50,000 jobs in Canada, and that and a fair amount of revenue and profitability there. The UK is kind of next.
Yeah, but because of the decision that you are not using any candidate data, you're also not tracking CPA, because you would necessarily need to kind of have some kind of login with the applicant, right?
Most of our customers are providing us with CPA data, because we'll have a unique link that we send to the ATS or whatever their landing page is, and then they're reporting back to us,
Okay.
You sent us 1,000 clicks yesterday, and these 14 converted into applications.
Okay, but there's no link to any personal information.
Sorry, Martin, what's that?
And there was no link to any personal data, because this could basically, it could say, well, these 14 candidates applied, and you could track it, you could trace it down.
Correct. So we won't know that, Joe Smith applied to XYZ company, but we will know that click, and every click that we send has a unique identifier. So we'll know that click 101567 converted into an application. And then we can track that back to what was our source for that. Was it organic traffic? Was it somebody coming from LinkedIn? Was it somebody coming from a career service office? Was it somebody coming from a job board or whatever? So we know exactly what the source of every click that we send. And we're not good at this yet, it's coming, but then programmatically we'll be able to say, For that customer, send them more of this kind of traffic. And for that other customer, send them more of that other kind of traffic. That's a 2022 item. We're not there yet, but it's coming. Right now, it's very manual. It's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz, where there's a guy behind the curtain pulling a bunch of levers.
Interesting. Is anybody here not building at all on paid traffic? So is anybody just building on organic traffic in here? So tell us, how did you do that?
For us, it was 20 years of building just the traffic and the brand recognition, mostly. So we are going to start looking at other sources of traffic, but for now, yeah, for the past 20 years, the brand is so strong in the market we're in. That's when they have a job, that's where they go. So we've been very fortunate in that sense.
Yeah, we've used a similar approach. We have a weekly newsletter that's been going out for years, and we built our audience through word of mouth. Through before the pandemic, we were doing maybe 5 or 6 public events in our market, and that would attract people. And we SEO has helped, obviously, and then just creating a lot of content in addition to the job postings. Content about how to look for work and how to hire smarter has helped us. We've attracted a national audience outside of the Pacific Northwest through our podcast and through our educational content on our website.
MaxList is Portland, right?
Yeah, we're based in Portland, Oregon. We serve employers in Oregon and Washington. Those are our 2 target states.
Matt Lucas is the king of SEO over there, so ask him.
Yeah, we have. We've launched in 1999 and was a publishing company before that. So we had thousands of pages worth of content on working in cool industries around the world. So I think our site has, 8,000 to 10,000 pages worth of content and very deep verticals. Some of the verticals have 200 to 300 pages worth of content. There's about 80 of them. So that's always optimized very well, and we get about 90% of our traffic organically. So,
Matt, are you? How often are you creating pages now? Like, what's your cadence there?
Not as much. We're updating pages more than creating, for a number of reasons. We've covered a lot of the industries that we wanted to, but we still have some stuff we're pumping out. So, but we were creating a ton of content for a bunch of years.
And do you blog or do you pages mostly?
Do we mostly
both?
Both, yeah.
Does anyone here have anyone that's dedicated to creating backlinks for SEO, or is that no one's dedicated?
I can sell you like 10.
I'll take them.
Okay, we'll talk. Yeah, backlinks, or
Now, do you think those static pages are going to really help with the SEO factor of it all? Because most of us have job listings that expire or they change all the time. So those like blog posts, the news posts, that's really what builds the SEO.
Yeah, the more pages and blogs you can create, the better. I mean, I'm helping a text recruiting company now with their site, and I did a blog for them on it was called the 7 stages of the recruiting process, and that blog post went viral on Google search, and it gets like 5,000 clicks a month on the damn thing. It's crazy. And so they've kind of doubled down. I'm creating pages and articles for them on a weekly basis today because of that strategy. So it works.
So what you can do, I think I mentioned it during the sessions in the chat, that you create some kind of dynamic search landing pages that are always on. So they create kind of a dynamic different content because you see the job listings like in a search result page, and Google can index that, and you can create those backlinks also to those pages. I don't know, Matt, if that was you were talking about with your different verticals that you were very strong in.
Yeah, no, I mean, the dynamic pages is actually a really good idea, and I'm gonna look into that. We don't do that right now. So, but was that what your question was, or was it something else?
I think you mentioned that over the last 20 years, you built strong SEO. And I remember you mentioned something like you were strong in some certain verticals where you built strong, maybe also backlinking, or did I misunderstand that?
Almost all of our backlinks come naturally. So we've tried programs before, and it just, I don't know, the amount of effort you put into it and the amount of results, it just, that we just kind of deferred back to, if you built really good content and kind of get out there in other ways, people will link to you, and that's worked for us. So.
Sorry, question. How else would you do it if you don't do dynamic landing pages? Because that's the only thing we know as far as getting indexed, well-positioned pages in Google search results. Do you work with static content like blog posts and?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to start creating your content that way. Yeah. And the deeper the bigger that content, I think the Google, you want to create a blog post or a page that's at least 1,000 words, you can Google some of the SEO trends there, but yeah, that's how you do it. And content people want, and I use Moz.com to check the keyword phrases that we're targeting, and you build content around that, and you study what people are searching for, and then you craft the title and page URL that way as well. So
yeah, we do the same thing, but we do it for dynamic landing pages with job title and location.
That's how Indeed does it. Yeah, Indeed is, out SEO everybody with a strategy. Like they have a combination of pages for every category, job title, and location in the world, essentially. That's how they out SEO'd everybody out there, and continue to do so today.
Chris, do you know of anybody that's successfully using AI to create non-job content, or like articles?
No, but I've seen those new tools like Jarvis.
Yeah.
So, you use one of those, I think.
Yeah, we just started. We're actually building it internally. So it's with GPT-3 technology. We're going to be leveraging it for several other things, but do check out what we want to leverage is for for companies to create job ads. So Rover.com is leveraging it, and I consulted for them a while back. And we're looking at creating the tools, maybe not for blog contents originally, but to give tools for clients to be able to create job ads, or for candidates to build resumes. So we're combining that technology. We've got a couple of key hires that we put in place to build that out, leveraging GPT-3.
Serge, on the Recruitment Flex podcast that you guys just dropped, I don't know if it was the most recent one or 2 episodes ago or something, you were talking about that.
Yeah.
Was it Dove.com?
Dover, DOVER.com.
Oh, that's what you were just saying. Okay.
Yeah. Do check it out. Because
you said Rover for a second ago, and that's like a dog sitting service. But okay, yeah. Dover.
Yeah, no, they built it out and it works really well. So we're trying to kind of replicate it in some ways, but we do plan on using it for blogs, for basically everything. Like we're creating landing pages in 2 minutes with this technology. It's pretty amazing.
I talked to Tao Ru last couple weeks ago, and they're coming out with their own jobstickers.com. They're coming out with a job title suggestion tool built on AI, Stephen, which I thought was interesting, to help employers pick the right job title with the right keywords, and context around it.
When you get jobs from the ATS, when you're scraping them, that becomes a real problem, right? When employers are manually posting to your site, or if you have permission from the employers to modify their postings, which most of them aren't going to give to you, at least the larger ones. But yeah, if you're,
I've always felt like if I ran a job board today, if I had the resources, what I would do is basically try and reword dynamically the job titles, despite the employers, to make them how I want them to sound, and geared towards seekers. But
and do they give you permission to do that?
I don't know. I would just do it.
I don't think there's anything.
Ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think there's anything proprietary about job descriptions by themselves.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, you could really tick off a customer though.
Yeah, if you somehow drastically change the job title, and it's but
So
you know,
most of
I
our
think-
customers, they come to us like the South Orange County Community College District, and they want us to pull all of their jobs.
Mhm.
They basically say, just do it. So then I have to build then the software that then goes and scrapes their jobs. And I've
Mhm.
found that what you can do is go to your competitor's website and scrape their jobs as well. And I found that to be very beneficial to backfill your own jobs.
I don't understand. So you would go to the competitor of your customer or to your own competitor?
Two
site?
ways. One, like our own customers, they want us to pull their own jobs.
Yeah.
So we do that. But then also instead of backfilling through Tauru, which we found to be kind of hit or miss,
Okay.
a lot of these, like the jobs won't be there anymore, and then it'll direct you onto another job and they take their money for the click.
Yeah.
But what we do is like, we'll look at some of our competitors. Like I know we use one company in the UK that then we go to and then pull their jobs directly from their website that are already categorized. And our software will then put it into our website beneath our jobs to backfill.
Oh, you're talking about for backfill. So you're that way you're building like critical mass in the job postings.
Correct.
So if a candidate comes to your site, they're not going to see 2 matches, they're going to see 27 matches or
Exactly.
70. Okay.
So, but we're not doing it through like the Tauru or the third parties. We're like, I mean, we're not making any money off of this either. We're just doing
Yeah.
this to give the applicant a better experience when they come to our website.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're actually backfilling in some ways from ATS. We're looking at the ATS that have a really good candidate experience, like Workable, Smart Recruiters. We've started with Workable, but that's the first initial part of any backfilling we're doing, is because we know the experience on Workable is really good, which is what we're trying to drive for, instead of picking in different areas, which we will, but our first step was doing that. So you get good quality.
And is your website categorized? Like ours is very specific, so it's higher education. So a biology professor isn't going to be looking for a physics job. Or
Yeah.
so
But
on and so
you
forth.
can filter those in your scrape, right? There's technology that you can leverage that you can only pick up the jobs that would fit the category that you're looking for. We're not categorized. We're a catch-all type of job board. So it's not as big a concern, but even though we do filter certain jobs that we don't want on our site based on whatever the case is.
Yeah, we actually use their filtering. So they already assign them to a job category, and then it changes that information into our job category that then like puts it perfectly into our system. So that when people use it, it's not all over the place. So when you search for a biology job, it's not English or something.
Oh, yeah.
I like your logo there, Miguel.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, it's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna go have some dinner, and I guess we'll close this out. But this has been a great conversation. And I think we'll leave it here.
I did just have one more question for Martin.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
How does your company handle ad agencies?
Hmm.
Because the problem that we run into is they have to have a different account with a different email for every company that they deal with, just so that
Yeah.
then, like under the company name, it will have Auburn University or
Yeah. Yeah, we have all sorts of so-called group functionalities. So you could basically sign in as an agency and handle different accounts. So we have clients that have that functionality. It's not necessarily something that we have in our standard, to be honest, because it's a use case for like more upscaling sites sometimes. But we have it. We call it ad agency access functionality, things like that. It's actually quite similar to like if you have a group feature for like a large corporate and you have like a corporate and they buy credits and they have some subsidiaries and the recruiters from that subsidiary also want to use those credits. So there's all kind of different setups that can be established, but that's how we would handle those agencies. So they would have their own accounts and they could handle some additional employer accounts, but the employer accounts could still have kind of company profiles on the job board. I'm not sure if this answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks so much for hosting, Chris.
You're welcome. And
And you're
great
picking up
seeing
the
you all.
bar tab, right?
that's right. I'm going to get my grub up right now. So come on over.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
All right, cheers and see
Have
you
a good
around.
one. Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Let's meet everybody.
Meet you too. Bye.